Hi, welcome back. Listen, for years I have known I've had ADHD, right? And I've sworn up and down all those years I do not have time blindness because they do tend to go hand in hand. I think it's time to finally admit defeat on that because I'm not joking. 2 days ago, 2 freaking days ago, I opened my calendar and I was like, it's like April 4th. I should probably fill out my April stuff. And yeah, no, it was not April 4th. No, we are in like the second week of April, and I immediately panicked because there's important stuff due in April. Cough, cough, taxes. So, obviously, panic ensued, and yeah, no. So I think it's finally time to admit because I genuinely thought it was like April 4th that I might have time blindness because yeah, sure, I can argue. I work nights, days aren't real, time isn't real, but like I genuinely panicked for a while because that not only that, I have like a lot of important stuff happening next week. Is it next week? Next week. Yes. And so I was like having to contact everyone who I'm meeting up with next week. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, what is your all schedules? And they're like, oh, we were just about to ask you too. I'm like, okay. I thought I was panicking for, it's fine. I got it. It's what it is. Anyway, it's not April. It's not March anymore. It's now April. So I guess we should ramble about what I'm planning or what I read in March, what I'm planning on reading in April. And I also want to briefly kind of talk about the fact that I'm changing things. Yes, I know there's a grand total like 4 or 5 of you who are watching these videos. So really, what does it matter? What does it care? It's just, listen, it's just me vocalizing it, hopefully is also going to put it out in the air and hopefully give me something to focus on and promise and do and blah, 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 blah. Obviously, when I first started this, I had planned on doing it in January and I was so excited. And I was like, I want to finally do book content because I've already been doing horse content for years. And I was like, I've always been a really big reader. And I genuinely have a lot of thoughts when I'm reading these books. And I don't know. I don't know how to articulate it sometimes. And I just tend to ramble and pace back and forth in my barn aisle and talk to myself and talk to my horses about everything I'm thinking. The problem is my original plan was I was going to be doing 2 reviews, right? 2 types of reviews. I was going to do a live react review and then also like a non-spoiler free version, like a spoiler free version, right? That was the plan originally. And I have learned it is a lot harder to do the live reacts than I initially planned because sometimes I genuinely just don't react as much as I thought I was going to. And then other times I am typically multitasking. And so sometimes if it's like an audiobook and I'm doing everything else, it's just it's difficult to kind of sit down, take a break. Or if I am reading, sometimes there's other people around and it's just, I've learned that trying to do live reacts is not as easy as I originally was kind of thinking it was going to be, which is fine. But also because of all that, I just haven't, I don't know, I was just hoping at least to do more reviews because the other thing was I didn't want to put out book reviews on books that were like they've been done so many times, right? Like there are some books out there that have so many reviews and I'm just like, that you all got it at this point. So my main focus was to focus on books that didn't have as many reviews. And so I'm still hoping to kind of do that, but I think in order to actually help achieve all that, instead of just doing a monthly wrap up, which I will still be doing, I'm kind of going to do like a weekly vlog type deal. So it will be more like a constant weekly check-in. I think that might work better because I do weekly stuff for the horses as is. And so I'm used to that kind of constant vibe. That was a noise. Do I need to check on you? I'll check on her in a second. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's just because maybe that would help because I'm so used to already doing the weekly stuff with them that if I switch to weekly stuff and still do a monthly wrap up, content will actually be, I don't know, more enjoyable and it will flow better and just be more productive. And I also won't have to constantly save all my thoughts toward the end of the month. And just stuff like that. So that's kind of the plan. Hopefully doing kind of more of a weekly type vlog. That way I can also hopefully focus on sitting down and actually doing if I'm not going to do live reacts, at least do the book reviews. So yeah, that's kind of the current plan for that. So I'm going to change things up a little bit. Hopefully I'll probably start this week after tonight because I'm going to be doing this, I'm sure, for like half the night. But it's also going to depend on how busy these kids end up making me because anyway, it's a whole thing. It's fine. I got it. Anyway, so one of my goals this year has been to start rereading every single physical book on my bookshelf because over the years, my reading taste has changed. Me and my sister have kind of combined bookshelves and, it's kind of gotten to the point I was like, you know what? I'm going to reread everything, give it a fresh chance and make the decision of does it stay or does it go? Because I do not want books on my bookshelf that I wouldn't recommend. I don't want to stare at a book that I hated. Like, that's just stupid. And so, kind of, my mindset has been anything that is below a three, unless it's like sentimental, a classic, or like a part of a series, and I loved the series and just didn't love that one book, more than likely anything three below is going to go with a few little exceptions, right? Um, so I've been slowly kind of doing a little bit at a time. Admittedly, a lot of what I've been doing recently has been like newer books, like books I've already bought, and I just went ahead and knocked them off the list as a cheat sheet, kind of. But I am finally starting to get a little bit more toward books that have been on my bookshelf for years, and it's just time to reread them. So my first two are actually both rereads. And the very first one has been very popular as of recently to talk about, considering all the things that are happening in the world and the government right now, and that has been Animal Farm. For those of you who've never read Animal Farm, it is a really short, quick read. I think it's like maybe 200 pages. It's not very long. Ironically, my physical copy looks like she got chewed up by animals. I'm pretty sure she probably did. I think she got chewed up by a dog at a point. Um, but overall, it is essentially about a bunch of farm animals who have lived on this farm and worked under this farmer. And finally, one day, they kind of had enough and they riot and they chase off the farmer. And the pigs, in particular, kind of take control and kind of help organize. And they're like, we're going to have a better life now that the farmer's gone. We can have our own farm, run it the way we do it, and it'll be fine. Everyone's gonna be happy. The farm animals are gonna be happy. We're gonna be happy. It's all gonna be great. And over time, we kind of watch the pigs turn into what they were trying to avoid the whole time, and it's just the endless cycle of it all. Um, Overall, it is like it's not like a fun little classic. It's like it's a classic that is kind of done in like a just a little it's just farm animals type way to send home the message of listen, it's very relevant with the fucking government right now where they're like, oh yeah, we'll help you, you elect us, we'll help you, and then they turn around and shoot you in the face. It's essentially the same vibe. um Overall, it's a three. It's like a solid little three. Just she's a good old classic. She's not going to go anywhere. um Granted, I might need to consider getting a different copy because bless the poor copy I have. She's all torn to shreds. I don't know what happened to her. I'm feeling a dog, like a teething puppy or something, got into her one day. Um, but anyway, that's all things. Honestly, the next one really freaking sucks to talk about because I have to give praise where it's due. This is a series that truly got me into reading. Like, I read the first, second, and third book between the summer of first and second grade. I was starting the fourth book as I was in second grade. Like, it is the reason that I read as much as I do now. Like, I was so obsessed with this series, and this is a series that also got me into fan fiction, and like it truly is what sparked my interest in reading. But it sucks now as an adult going back and rereading it and seeing problematic themes and issues. And the freaking author, who I adored, I loved her so much and respected her so much as a kid. We had like an autobiography thing we had to do when we were younger, where we had to read an autobiography and do a whole bunch of research on this person, and then we had to pretend to be them and give out a recorded speech in front of the whole class, and we had to pretend to be them. And so like this is who I picked to do that freaking autobiography thing on. And it sucks now as an adult realizing that she's such a horrible person, and it just like every single day it freaking haunts me. Obviously it's gonna be the Harry Potter series. I think so. I read the first one right off the bat, and I definitely think the more I've also read this, I truly think the fandom is what made this series so great. I think the author gave us the basis of something, and there's now that I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe it's not as great as I think. I truly, truly think the fan and the fandom themselves is what made this series so much better than it actually was. The first one obviously is kind of laying the basis for the rest of the series. I still kind of give it a three looking at it. But yeah, this is one of those books. If you are kind of newer to reading, I do recommend it. But it's one of those books. Do not buy it new. Get it thrifted. Use your library. Do not put more freaking money into that woman's pocket than she already has. She's a bajillionaire at this point. She doesn't care. So it's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, I recommend it, But me now, back as an adult, I look at it and I'm well aware it's not as amazing as what we used to think of it back then. And I truly just think it was the fans and the fandom that really made this series worth following. And honestly, they've kind of kept up the energy. Like if you sit and consider now that they have taken the before actual Harry Potter, the Marauders. Oh my god. And they have turned that whole thing, like that whole thing is basically a made believe story at this point, that the fans have all just collectively been like, this is ours now. It's not hers. Fuck her. We've got this part, and it's just, this is how it's going to be. And honestly, that's kind of been the most awesome part of it all, is just watching us develop this whole little story away from her, I guess. Anyway, so those were kind of my two rereads for the month. Everything else is going to be a first time going through. So, all fun new stories to talk about on that aspect. So, the next book is the third in a series, and I have come to find that I have a difficult way of not spoiling things if it's in a series, because I'm just like, I can do the first one, but then by the time we get to the second and third one, like things have happened, and I just realized I didn't tell you all what Harry Potter was actually about. It's fine at this point. It is what it is. Anyway, my favorite read of the month ended up being Morningstar. I gave it a 4.25. It is the wrap up to the trilogy of Red Rising. For those of you who missed it, Red Rising is a book about a boy who their whole system is colors, right? So there is basically um your color system is basically how you rank in society. So he was a red. He was considered the lowliest of the lows, and the gold are the top. And basically, he kind of goes undercover to thwart the whole system, right? And so this is kind of the conclusion of that whole process of all the war, all the bloodshed, all the battles, all the heartbreak, all of it. We finally kind of get to a conclusion. And obviously, it's not like a true conclusion, because things still happen. Like, obviously, you dismantle a whole system, it still takes a while to rebuild the system. And so, from my understanding, the next part is kind of talking more about all the issues with all that. But overall, I have really, really enjoyed this series. I gave it a 4.25. I don't really know how else to keep talking about it without spoiling it, other than the fact I feel like, of a lot of the books that I've read this year, this series has definitely kind of been my standout so far. It's only April, I know, but it's definitely kind of been my standout so far. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I've loved her. I was glad that this is one of those TikTok books. It was recommended to me from TikTok. Is one of those I'm like, yeah, no, you did good job this time. Sometimes I get books and I'm like, it's fine. Yeah, no, you're the creator of your own For You page. Sometimes my For You page sends me silly stuff. Okay, it happens on all sides. Speaking of TikTok recommendations, this was one. And admittedly, I feel like people are either very 50-50 about it. They either loved it or they hated it. And it kind of just depends on where you are in life, in my opinion, on how you feel about the book. And that would be The Midnight Library. So essentially, it is about a girl who kind of just hits rock's bottom. She's just done. She's got fired from her job. Her cat died. And she genuinely just feels like there's like no one would care if she was gone. Like, she's just like, I'm not needed anymore. Um, so she kills herself, and the system essentially sends her to a library where she gets the chance to live out different lives if she had taken different chances or different choices. So if she had chosen to continue doing band and doing music with her brother, or if she had chosen to go to Australia with her best friend, or if she had chosen to continue swimming instead of stopping it, like, it just kind of goes through all these different possibilities of if she had taken a different choice. Overall, the whole premise of the book, and you can tell it's just like trying to convince her to keep living. Like, the system itself is like, we want to encourage you to live, like, not even subtly. It's like, we want to encourage you to live, like, so, keep picking. Maybe you'll pick out the perfect life. And each life she picks, she kind of just finds something to not like. Like, she's like, oh, this person died, or this happened, or I'm still not happy in this life either because I'm on all this medication for depression, or I tried to kill myself in this one too. And so there's just so much of it where she herself just never seems to be happy in any life. And I think that for me was kind of the issue. Was just like, I feel like they were trying to just be like, well, life has its ups and downs, buckle up, Buttercup. I don't know. And so it got to the point where it got really repetitive of her just never being content with anything until she finally. Hold on. I was about to spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it. It's been out for a while, so I probably would be safe to spoil it. But overall, I kind of just felt like it was kind of like a. I could see it coming after a while, and I just felt like it was kind of drug out unneedingly, maybe. Oh, I don't know. Overall, I didn't really love the main character. She kind of really got obnoxious after a while with just her whole psychology bullshit that she kept trying to spew in every lifetime. Um, I ended up giving it a 2.5. For me, it just, or not 2. I gave it a 2.75. I enjoyed pieces of the writing and I enjoyed the idea, but it definitely got to a point I was just kind of over it. I don't know. Like, but I definitely feel like it kind of probably depends on where you are in life on whether or not you would enjoy this book. It's kind of my opinion on that matter. And if you're going to be like, well, where are you in life? I'm just here, man. If I die tomorrow, I die tomorrow. If I don't think I don't think I'll live past 75 to be blunt, but like that's just me. Um, but yeah, no, I'm kind of at that point. Like if I die tomorrow, I die tomorrow. I don't care. But like I'm not gonna myself. I just go with the flow. Anyway, that's just where I don't know. I didn't love it. Yeah, so I definitely kind of am in camp two with people from TikTok who are just kind of like, it's there. But yeah, no, who knows? I don't know. I would definitely feel like it's something some people would enjoy, but it's definitely kind of one. It just depends on where you are in life. The next book is a second book of a series, and once again, I feel like I can't talk about middle books and series without spoiling things. So I'll do what I can. Anyway, I read the second book of the Legendborn series, Bloodmarked, and so in the first book, we meet Bree, and Bree had very recently lost her mother, and she's entered into a kind of like a fast track program where she's still in high school. She's 16 in the first book, but she is attending a college that her mother used to go to. And essentially, she's dealing with a lot of issues with the whole grief system, and she just lost her mother. Like she's dealing with all that, and she kind of feels like she's betraying her mother because they argued about going to this college and all things of that nature. And in this time, she also discovers that she actually can see magic, and not just see magic, she can actually kind of use magic. And it's this whole thing about finding herself and discovering what kind of her like her family and her bloodline, and just discovering just a lot about how everything is kind of connected. um at the end of the first book, things take a turn, as they do, and it kind of propels us into the second book, in which you have a bunch of people who are kind of just trying to pretend like, oh, we're doing it for you, the best thing for you. And because of all that, it ends up kind of taking the basic of we're going on a trip. That tends to happen a lot in series, you know what I mean? Field trip time. Overall, again, I don't know how to talk about these books without spoiling it. Overall, I gave it a 3.75. Yes, yes, I did. I gave it a 3.75. Again, I still enjoy this book. My two nitpicks about this series has mainly been with Bree and her age. I don't understand why they didn't just age her up or send her to a boarding school, because a lot of the people around her are her age, despite the fact they're all in college. And so sometimes they do things, and I have to go back and double check the ages of everybody because I'm like, hold the phone. Are we crossing a potential line here? And also, I think just because I don't know, my brain is automatically like she's in college, even though she's not technically college age. I just automatically mature her up a little bit more. And I have to go back and remember, like, she is a kid. Obviously, just because you turned 18 doesn't automatically make you more mature. But, like, in my brain, I'm like, I have to consistently remember, like, she is a kid. She actually turned 17 in the second book. Um, so I don't know. The age thing, I just don't understand why we just didn't age her up. It would have worked fine if she was still a college kid, in my opinion. I don't know, potentially, because, but or just send her to a boarding school. I don't know. It's just the whole thing. The whole time I've been doing this has been the one thing I'm like. And the other thing has been the boy situation, because now it's kind of turned into a bit more of like a love triangle, like officially. Like there was kind of a hint of it in book one, but like she is a very strong, independent character, and yet we keep reflecting back on the boys, and the boys themselves have so much to do with her, with what she does. Like, it kind of takes away from the fact that she is a strong, independent character. I'm like, let her be independent and strong by herself. She does not have to keep going back to these boys and thinking about them. I was like, let her be. Anyway, that's my little nitpick on that, because I do really love the series. I love the magic system. I love the writing, but every time I bring up the boys, I'm like, I understand it is kind of a romantasy in like a YA version. Tone down the thought of the boys just a touch. We don't need. We just let her be strong and let her be her and let her figure her shit out. Then we can talk about the boys later on. Anyway, I'm hoping to read the third one because the third one released recently, last month. So I'm hoping to read the third one this month in April because I finally got it too on my Libby app. I guess last month was just the month for like heavily recommended TikTok books, because this is one that I feel, again, some people either loved or they hated. And I definitely think if you're someone who can like see things in your mind when you're reading, I think this is definitely more of a book for you. And that would be Watermoon. So overall, basically this book is about a girl who is about to take over her father's pawn shop. And it's not like a regular pawn shop. It is a pawn shop that specializes in like life choices and regrets. So it's definitely kind of like a little bit magical substance to it. For those of you who are fans of Studio Ghibli, it is kind of marketed as like Studio Ghibli vibes, and I agree. I definitely like, if you're someone who can like see things as you read, definitely like I feel like you would definitely enjoy it because it kind of paints a picture as you go. It's very whimsical, magical, despite the fact there is like a slight haunting evil following her as they are basically hunting down a missing choice, right? The only nitpick I had, listen, I love this book, and the only thing that really knocked it down for me was the very freaking end, like the last two chapters, okay? It was so well done. The writing was great. It felt whimsical. You could kind of feel the pressure, even though like it wasn't like, you could feel it, even though like it wasn't like a life or death. Well, it kind of was technically, but it didn't feel like doom and gloom. My issue was a post-it note would have sufficed, because like I'm trying not to spoil it, but like there was like the last two chapters where like the love interest suddenly loses contact with the main character, and we no longer get to see the main character, right? And so all of a sudden there's this missing time period for like a year essentially, where there's no information. And for me, this was so easy to fix, because she says her thing. She goes, oh yeah, like had to deal with some stuff, and I'm like, a post-it note would have sufficed. You have a phone. Well, he has a phone. I was like, a post-it note would have sufficed. A text message, like a leaf of paper tapped onto the pawn shop, been like, listen, I'm okay. I will return when shit gets fixed, but like, hold on. Like, a post-it note would have sufficed. That was my whole. I was like, I loved the book. The last two chapters, I wish I could have just tweaked the communication that happened there. But overall, I enjoyed it. Besides, that was my nitpick. It was. I think it was one of those things that people either loved or they hated, and I really think people who can't see as they read probably didn't love it as much, because I don't think it painted as great as the picture for you all. But for me, again, I enjoyed it. The last part, though, I was just like, but I liked it. It's staying on the bookshelf, if that makes you feel any better. It ranked high enough where it gets to live on the bookshelf. The next book is one that I'm pretty sure it was like released in like February or March of this year, so it is a newer release. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it though. It is a historical fiction murder mystery type book, and that would be The Queens of Crime. We mainly follow the footsteps of our main character, who is a murder mystery author. And around this time, there are a lot of women murder mystery authors, but they're kind of not taken seriously. And so she kind of came up with the idea of making a club, and she kind of, got all the other guys in it too. And she personally invited a whole bunch of the women, and they were kind of snubbed from the rest of the group, not really taken seriously. And so she kind of decided, well, maybe if we solve a real life murder mystery, we will be taken more seriously. And so that is mainly what we are watching these ladies doing, is taking all the stuff that they have kind of figured out through writing their own mystery novels and also just kind of their own experiences as women, because a lot of this book highlights kind of just how women are kind of just, underlooked. They're not paid as much attention to as the men sometimes, and so they're able to kind of like talk and figure stuff out together and figure out what happened to this lady who was this nurse in particular who was murdered on a trip. um Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 3.5. It was definitely kind of like, if you enjoy like a murder mystery that isn't like dark and like torturous, that is more of a little bit like lighter, this is a good one. If you also enjoy historical fiction, this is another just good one. Overall, I really enjoyed the writing style. Oh, my voice is leaving me. I enjoyed the writing style. There were some little spots in the plot where kind of got like a little bit of a lull. Like we got to see some of the women's like personal. What is happening behind me? Things are happening behind me. We got to see some of like the personal effects like in the women's life, or some bits and pieces of it. I'm like, it's kind of not needed. I understand why it's there, because again, we're talking about how kind of women are being underlooked, but but like it was just kind of just that extra thing to the whole murder mystery thing. Overall, again, I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.5. If you enjoy kind of, again, murder mystery, it's just, it was an enjoyable book. I'm gonna drink water now before I die, apparently. This next one honestly kind of surprised me that I enjoyed, because it is a novella. And in all honesty, novellas, if you have a good novella, like, props to them, because you only have so many words, so much pages to work with. It's not like a book where you can keep going on and on. Like, there is a certain limit that you have to kind of stick to. It is supposed to be like a shorter story. And so when you can make something so good in such a short period of time, like, it truly speaks as a writer just how well you're able to do things like that. Um, anyway, When Among Crows was the next book I read, and is technically a novella. It's like 166 pages. I sat and read it like in one sitting, like right off the bat. It was so well done. It is about this guy who basically goes and takes this plant flower that he's currently holding, in order to kind of trade for information. He is looking for a way out, a way of punishment, essentially. And basically, on the way, we get to meet a bunch of supernatural characters that are also kind of just dealing with their own shit. And it's kind of definitely kind of like a little bit of the found family type vibe. And there is supposed to be a second book, so I am curious to see how we are going to go through it now that, we have changed things. I'm trying not to spoil things, but things have changed, and so I'm curious to see just how they're going to continue it, because it definitely kind of came in as like a like you I figured it out pretty quickly what the situation was. Well, minorly, I knew the big part, and I don't know, I really liked watching everything fall into space, and you get to see in real time this very quick found family. Like, they meet with it all within a span of 48 hours, and you get to see them go from like wary to each other to buddy buddy to what's to wait a second, no, we would like you to live, you don't need no punishment type vibe. And then there's still stuff involved. Anyway, so I enjoyed I give it a 4.0. Like I said, I feel like novellas, if you can get all that stuff done, and there's a little something flying around, it's a mosquito. It's that time of the year where freaking bugs are alive again, and they all come into this room because there's light. It's a whole thing. Anyway, I know my door is open if you close the door, but I can't hear my ladies. My door is closed. Anyway, I enjoyed it. That's all you need to know. I am actually really excited for the second one. It was really well done. I enjoyed the writing. I enjoyed the characters. It was just a fun little awesome book, and I'm excited for the next one. The final book I read of March, in all honesty, was a bit of a disappointment. I read the first book last month, and I really enjoyed it, and I had high expectations for the second one, and I had seen mixed reviews about it ahead of time, and so I was kind of like, it can't be, like, surely. I was disappointed. And that would be with Heavenly Tyrant. So the first one, oh my god, what was your Iron Widow? It's a sequel to Iron Widow. Um listen, so I feel like there was a lot of the potential. There was a lot of potential in this book, and it kind of just kept dragging on and on. And again, this is the thing with the men. Why are we so like we are pushing the fact that we have a independent woman that can do all this awesome stuff, and then we keep doubling back with men. Like the whole idea is like, oh yeah, the whole push of the book is like they're a strong independent woman. They can do whatever the hell they want. Why are we so heavily focused on men half the time then? Like on your brothel behind you. Um yeah. So anyway, that wasn't really my biggest nitpick with it. It got to the point where the fighting scenes toward the end it got really dull. I it listen, so Libby gives you 14 days to read a book. I started reading this book when I had 10 days left in my hold, and I read it all the way up into like the last hour of my read, okay? I fell asleep 3 times reading like that big final fight scene. I I don't really have any good things to say about it. I'm really disappointed. Overall, I think I gave it a 2.75, which in honesty still feels kind of high because I still enjoyed the writing. I still enjoyed the idea and the premise. It just got to the point where I feel like it just kind of drug on and just I feel like the like progress was kind of made, but then at the same time all these men kept stabbing her behind the back and she still keeps going to them. Why? I don't know. Don't know why are we pushing the narrative of strong independent women who need no man, and then the men we keep relying on and going back to are stabbing you in the back constantly. Why do we keep approving this? Anyway, that was my spiel about it. I was upset, I guess. I don't know. I was the fact that I fell asleep 3 times when reading that final fight scene, and I wasn't tired. Like obviously I work night shift, so my days are all wonky. But like I wasn't tired when I was reading them. I was just like it wasn't here. Thank God it wasn't here. I was it was my I think my day off, and I was just like, that's how I felt about it. It's okay, and if it makes you feel any better, I started April too, right off the bat. I ended March with a not happy book, and I started April with a book that I was ready to throw out the window. I can't believe TikTok recommended me that book too. Anyway, um, I guess we should chit chat about what I plan. I don't know what she's doing back there, but she's making like weird noises. Not really weird noises. It's like she's playing with things. Anyway, what do I plan on reading in April? Admittedly, I kind of had originally made a list. Hold on. I had originally made a list. That list kind of went out the window because Libby app gives you 14 days to read a book, and you can technically like if you get your hold request, you can request for it to be like pushed back. Okay, you can be like, oh, I'm not ready for it yet. I'm gonna wait a week or two until like can give it back to me in a week or two. You think I would utilize that more, and I don't. I should. Instead, I see it. And I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'll take it. And then all of a sudden, the freaking books that I requested that weren't supposed to be here for like 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks are suddenly all coming in at the same time. And I'm like, wait. But I just anyway. So I say all that because originally I was hoping to start Iron Gold this month, and I got it in, and I had to re-request it and send it back because I waited too long to start it. So that was whoops. So Iron Gold was supposed to be on there. It's not on there anymore. Oathbound, which is the third book of the Legendborn series, that is on my TBR. I'm kind of hoping to finally get to Gideon the Ninth. It was something that has kind of been on and off recommended to me, and even my mom. Listen, I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm not really on great speaking terms with my mother. I don't particularly like her as a person, and we don't really have the same reading tastes in particular. But we got her minorly intoxicated on Thanksgiving, and she did admit, she goes, I actually liked Gideon the Ninth, and I was like that surprises me because that was a very highly recommended on TikTok, and she's a lot of what she has read from TikTok she hates, and I'm like, okay. That being said, it's just what it is. I was surprised. Um, I've kind of been debating a little bit. I kind of mentioned this earlier. I didn't love the first book of the oh, what is it? I have it here somewhere. The Shadow of the Gods. I didn't love The Shadow of the Gods. I loved a lot of pieces about it, but I figured out things too quickly and it kind of ruined the book for me. But then I kind of sat and thought about it more and more, and I was like, I wonder if I'm going to like the second book better than I like the first book. So I think I finally bit the bullet and I am going to read The Hunger of the Gods um, as well this month, just because why not? I've requested it. Let's see if I actually like it. And then what else had I requested? Yep, Gideon the Ninth is on my request book. Hunger of Gods on my request book, and this should be here in time. Oh my gosh, Gifted and Talented. I forgot. I was talking about this book back in like January and how I was so excited for it to be released, and then I completely forgot about it. And then it popped up on my Libby app, like, don't forget, you have this book on notice, like for like when we get it, let you know. And I was like, oh my god. And that is The Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. So that is also on my books to read for this month. That being said, there was one book I didn't read. I have not read Rebel Witch, which was technically on my last month thing, so I do need to read that. And then I still haven't read Will of the Many. Listen, I don't know. This next couple weeks are gonna be really crazy for me work wise because I have people are coming into town next week because there's an event near me, and so I'm kind of playing tour guide for a lot of people and I'm doing social media stuff. And so I know I'm going to be stuck on audiobooks a lot next week, and then to add to it, Derby week is in like what, 2 weeks, a week after that. It was right around the corner. So obviously anytime that happens too, it's just crazy. So I'm gonna be really busy the next couple weeks. So I'm kind of playing it by ear. I have a feeling I'm gonna be stuck listening to a lot of audiobooks, and I'm not gonna have time to read a lot of physical books. So I always try to plan things correctly. When I request things on Libby, I always check to see how long the wait is on the physical copy and the audiobook, because sometimes one of them is shorter than the other, and that's typically how I choose. Whichever one is supposed to get to me faster is what I choose. And so I did specifically this month and next month. I knew I was going to be crazy busy, so I did request a lot more audiobooks rather than physical ebooks. So that's kind of the vibe. I have a feeling it's going to be an audiobook month, but it's kind of going to be the only way I can get anything read. Unfortunately, just it's that time of year. Anyway, that's what I've got for right now. All the books I read. I feel like overall, this was a pretty decent month. I feel like this might have been my best month reading wise, um, compared to what I've read so far. And then I can go ahead and say, like, this month I've read April. I've read a couple, and I will say the first one I might make the freaking first book I read in April. I might make its own individual video because I saw a lot of hype about it, and a lot of people who got the arc loved it, and I read it, and I was like, the idea was great. Don't know where it was executed, but I don't know. There was a lot of words and thoughts. That's all that was though. Just thoughts. Nothing happened. Anyway, that was my myth so far of the month. So I've already started April off great. Actually, I'm currently about to read the new book of the Hunger Games. So I've heard people cried horrendously over it. So I'm sure that's probably going to be the first book that you all get to see when me do my weekly read, because if I'm doing everything weekly now, that should be a thing. Anyway, oh my gosh, my mares are making a lot of noise tonight, but no one actually seems to want to have a baby tonight. You're probably like, it's because you're yapping. The whole reason I specifically yapped tonight was because no one seemed to be doing anything, but they are making noises, but no one's having a baby tonight. Anyway, that's all I got for right now. I'm going to go pretend to work. I'm going to edit this, hopefully, and have it out ASAP. Freaking, speaking of bullshit, y'all don't care about this. So, I don't know what it is on this account in particular. I can upload a video that is like 20, 40, 60 minutes long, and it uploads like that. I'm like, wow, amazing. Amazing. And in all reality, there's more like me cutting things up and more editing on these videos than my other videos. My other videos are like 30 minutes long, 40 minutes long, and they take 3-4 days to upload. I don't know what it is. That's annoying. It's the same quality and everything. So that's my myth for right now. Anyway, um, I guess I will see you next week. Not next month. I will see you next week. We are doing the weekly thing. Hopefully. Anyway, be better than me. Drink some water. Read a book. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which is everything.